Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. I am your host Viz. Our guest today is world-renowned medium Cindy Kaza, who can now be seen on The Dead Files. The new season of The Dead Files premieres Thursday, September 7th at 10 p.m., 9 Central on the Travel Channel. Cindy, thank you for being our guest today. And again, a big congratulations on joining the Dead Files team. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. When I found out that you were taking over for Amy Allen, it was a no-brainer for me. I'm like, of course. I've been a fan of yours. I first saw you starting with the Holzer Files, and I've been
hmm
following your work ever since. So let's start with the million-dollar question. What was your initial reaction when you got the offer to replace the very popular Amy Allen on the Dead Files?
Well, I was honored to even have been asked to, take Amy's place on the show. And I was really excited. It's a great show. I was also nervous. I was like, oh, I got some big shoes to fill. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be myself. That's all I can be. Right. And
Hmm.
so there are a lot of different emotions that went along with it, but I really enjoy the show. I enjoyed making it. It's an awesome show to be a part of. So I'm really grateful to Amy for passing the torch and for recommending me to be the person who replaced her. That was an honor.
Oh wow! So Amy recommended you. I did not know that. That is an honor.
Yes.
Now the
hmm
show, which is in its 16th season, is extremely popular with fans, largely because of how it's set up. You have a medium, and you have an NYPD homicide detective working on the same case, but from completely different angles. What
hmm
was your approach to keeping what Amy made popular, but yet making it your own?
Well, the show, has a format which we followed. You go in, you meet with the family. Steve does his thing. We meet at the end, right? And I really think, Amy and I work differently. I think she's more clairvoyant than me. What I mean by that is she sees more. I'm more of a feeler, and I can hear, or I do automatic writing. There,
Hmm.
and I also see, but she's very visual, right? So, I mean, I just went in and I was myself, and that's, I think, different enough, unique enough, while also being respectful of the format of the show, which I think is important, right? So
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, it's like mediums oftentimes have similar styles where, we the way that we tap into spirit. So I don't think that it's so extremely different than that people aren't going to know what they're watching.
Hmm.
But it's different enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you get any kind of pressure to do it exactly the way Amy did it? Were you allowed latitude to bring your own characteristics to the medium angle of the show?
No, I was totally allowed to be myself, to do what I needed to do to tap into the spirit world. I did some automatic writing, I did some spirit drawing. Yeah, so I didn't feel at any point in production that, they were like, you have to do it this way. That's not what happened. Yeah.
Now, Steve DeShavi, who's the NYPD homicide detective, a very likable person. A lot of people can relate with him. Did you meet Steve for the first time when you began working together, or did you and Steve know each other from before?
No, we met for the first time working together. And I love Steve. He's like my big brother, I really, really enjoy working with him. He's a good guy.
So you got along great, pretty much, and coming together at the end for the reveal. I could sense, I've seen two episodes already with you two, and I could sense that there's definitely good working connection between the both of you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just, I really, really like Steve, and I got nothing but good stuff to say about him. We get along great and we work together very well.
Now, the whole premise of the show from the beginning was, especially when Amy was on, was that the medium and the detective did not communicate during the
Yep.
investigation. I noticed in this last season that that has been removed from the dialogue, but I don't think it's been necessarily removed from the show. What can you say to that? Do you and Steve communicate during the investigation, or is it
We
completely
don't.
separate?
It's separate. We don't communicate anything about the case during the investigation. We reveal everything at the end. Have I seen him passing by in a hotel? Yes, but we don't talk about the investigation. So it's the same. I mean, and it's better that way, because if he were to tell me things that he, had found in research, it would influence me and vice versa. And I don't like to go into an investigation knowing anything. It actually
Hmm.
screws me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, same format.
Now, I found out you were taking over for Steve. I read it on Twitter, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, that's going to be interesting. I could definitely see that. And then you made your premiere on the final episode of last season. Now, when I saw you come on, I'm like, okay, here we go. I was a big fan of Amy. I am a big fan of Amy Allen. I think she's a great medium, but I'm a big fan of yours as well. So I'm like, let's give Cindy a chance. I gave you a complete blank slate, and I was very impressed with how you handled yourself, and especially in that first episode. Were you especially nervous during that first shoot, during that first episode?
Yeah, I'm nervous in every shoot, right? I mean, doing a walkthrough makes me nervous. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, I have all these cameras in my face, and I have to tap into the spirit world, and I hope it's gonna work and whatever. There's all the stories that we tell ourselves, as mediums, and but it's interesting because I wouldn't expect every previous fan to be okay with the change. Some people are upset about the change. Some people are excited. Some people are in between. And change is hard. Hey, change
Yeah.
is hard, but and it's okay. So I just, so far the response has been fairly positive, and I also just look at it as like I'm here to do a service to these families. Like I'm here to show up and be myself, and that's all I can do. Not everyone's gonna like you, but I felt a lot of positive support from people.
And that's what separates, in my opinion, the Dead Files from other paranormal shows. It's not about the footsteps, the tapping, the knocking, the EVPs, the REM pods. There's nothing paranormal in the show. It's about you guys revealing a story. You're telling a story from a research point that Steve does and your point of view as a medium, and that story is revealed to us involving the history of the family, of the home itself. For me, it's always been very refreshing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's actually really fun for me too because I've loved all the shows that I've worked on, to be honest with you. They've all been fun, but it is sometimes difficult to be in a paranormal investigation as a medium with a bunch of other people with gadgets, right? Because
Hmm.
it can be a little bit distracting, and I'm tapping in and then something's beeping. I'm like, what's going on? But those things have their place too, because it's also really fun to be sitting and speaking with the spirit, and then all of a sudden the gadgets are going off simultaneously, right? So
Hmm.
it's I like all aspects of it, but I will say that Dead Files has been like really, really kind of refreshing in the sense that I can do a walkthrough in silence, and just kind of be like, I have, however long I need to get through this, and then, to meet with the families, and then to hear what my partner, uncovered from an angle that has nothing to do really with him believing in paranormal, if you know what I
Exactly.
mean. Like he
Yeah.
believes, but he's going into the research from a different, with a different mindset,
Yeah,
I
he's
guess,
going in as a homicide detective, and
as a homicide
exactly, yeah,
detective.
with
Yeah.
that mindset. Now, people who follow you know that automatic writing is a big part of your mediumship, and you brought that into the Dead Files. In regards to the Dead Files, how is automatic writing especially helpful when you're doing a walkthrough of a home?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I usually use automatic writing when I feel a little bit scattered or overwhelmed, or if I'm being hit with a lot of energy, like very quickly, and I need to get really focused. It's a good tool for me. It works really well for me. Sometimes it's a good tool also when when I feel like I need to go a little bit deeper into a very specific question, because I can ask the question and it comes out in the writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more removed from the information that's coming through. It's a different channel. It's a different experience. Yeah.
Now, I was given a sneak peek to the premiere that's going to happen September 7th, and the evidence that both you and Steve came up with was mind-blowing.
It's crazy episode.
It was absolutely mind-blowing. We're not going to spoil anything, especially in the reveal when you guys revealed it to each other and to the family. Because you looked shocked when Steve validated some of your findings. Were you really like, wow, down to a name? I mean, that's how pinpoint you were.
It was, it's funny because my husband will say to me, why do you act so surprised when you get something right? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, because I'm still, I think, constantly in awe with the fact that this is even happening to begin with. It's what I do for work. I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm still like, oh my gosh, this is so wild, right? And that the episode, the premiere episode, that case, it was just like, yeah, it was crazy. And it's like, I think the other part of it was, I don't want to give too much away, but the fact that everything was so specific and so on point made me even trust even more. Like, no, this is the spirit who's here. There is no way it's not. There's no room for misinterpretation in this one, and sometimes,
there was no ambiguous generalities about the information you gave. It was spot on, and that made it so compelling and so interesting. And for everyone out there, if you're interested, please, you gotta watch this premiere episode. Now, a lot of people want to know, when you're doing a walkthrough of a home and you do get these visions, you mentioned the slight differences between you and Amy Allen about how you receive the messages. For you, how do these visions, how do these voices come to you as you're doing a walkthrough?
Yeah, so a lot of times I'll feel like, I feel like there's a woman here, or I'll hear. So I'm trying not to give too much away, but like in the premiere episode, what I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing, right? That I'll say, they're saying to me, I heard somebody say this. Sometimes I'll see imagery. I am clairvoyant. I'm just, my clairvoyance maybe isn't as strong as Amy's clairvoyance, where Amy will be like, I see a woman. She looks like this. She's this age. She's dressed like this. For me, it's typically not like that. I'm more of like, I can sense, feel, hear. Sometimes I know, just slightly different way to feel the information from the spirit world. But it depends on the spirit, because some spirits communicate more through feeling, some communicate more through hearing, and it just really depends on the location and the spirit that I'm communicating with.
Now, in the last episode, the one that was released last season, your premiere, you had the difficult role of telling the family that their best option was to leave. For you, what is that red line when you're talking with a family as to what their next move should be? What's your red line that pushes you to tell them, you know what, your best option is to just pack up and leave, as opposed to stay and fight this?
Yeah, and it's such a hard thing to say to a family. And there are moments where, like, am I really telling this family to leave their home? I mean, this feels crazy, but not everything makes it into an episode. And what people don't know is I had already sensed that they had brought in a priest and somebody from the clergy to bless the house. It didn't work. And then you go back into all of the things that have happened in history at that location. You see these similarities in all the families that had lived there, the multiple car accidents, there's just so much stuff. And then, right, the family, the woman wanted to leave.
Yes.
She was ready to leave. So it's like a combination of all the things. It's like, she's really ready to get out of here. All of the evidence is saying, maybe that's a good plan. And that's when I come up with, that's where I came up with that conclusion.
Yeah.
I think her especially wanting to get out of the house, and she voiced that to several times, made it easier to give that message to her. But at the end they stayed, and that's also okay. You know, maybe what we gave them was, you know, the a little bit more energy to fight what was going on and work through it.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, like, everybody, you know, has their own path and they can make their own decisions. But I think most importantly, our job is to show people we see your experience. We are witnessing what you feel. You are not crazy.
Exactly.
And that can really turn things around. So whether they leave or not, that's up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You give them that validation that it's not them. You're right. They're not going crazy. Cindy, again, thank you so much for coming on here. I'd love to go more into detail, but then we'd be going into spoilers. You guys have to watch the premiere episode. It is coming out September 7th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on the Travel Channel. It's called The Dead Files. Cindy Kaza here is one of the main stars. Please check it out. I want to thank our guest, Cindy, you know, for being on here and sharing some of her experiences. Cindy, I wish you the best of luck. I think you have many years of success in the Dead Files.
Oh,
I see it continuing for a long time. You know, you're a great replacement for Amy Allen, and you're amazing. Thank you again. You have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
no, just thanks so much for having me. It's good to see you again, and I hope to talk to you again at some point.
Absolutely. Look forward to the next time. I want to thank all our viewers on behalf of Cindy and myself. Stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.